Every year at Easter, Christians in the Philippines reenact the crucifixion of Jesus as described in the Gospels. They actually volunteer to be crucified. They do it because they believe it will help them to purge their sins. For the onlookers, it's a bloody and brutal reminder of what happened to Jesus 2,000 years ago.
Crucifixion was the most cruel and atrocious punishment that the Romans could inflict. And it was inflicted only for treason and only on slaves. If you were a nobleman and you were a traitor, then normally you were strangled, something much simpler and much easier and much less painful. After condemnation, the cross beam, was strapped to the shoulders of the criminal, and he paraded through the streets with his arms stretched out. At the place of execution, then, nails were hammered into the hands and the feet.
In the Philippines, they use real nails. They do experience the real pain that Jesus felt. In fact, a man nailed to the cross does not die from his wounds. He dies, surprisingly, from suffocation. Hanging just by your arms from a cross, your chest is compressed. It's hard to breathe without supporting your body weight on your legs. Over time, the strain on the legs and the pain make that impossible, and you are unable to breathe. In the Philippines, the volunteers are brought down from their crosses within an hour. Death from crucifixion takes much longer, often several days. The only way to hasten death on the cross was to break the legs, making it immediately impossible to support your weight, and therefore to breathe. But the Gospels are all agreed that Jesus died after only 3 to 6 hours. The crucifixion began at the 3rd hour.
And it was the 3rd hour, and they crucified him.
Some think that the Gospel according to Luke has the shortest crucifixion.
It was about the 6th hour, and when Jesus had cried out with a loud voice, he gave up the ghost.
Matthew and Mark clearly have Jesus surviving a little longer.
And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out.
The disciples wanted to take Jesus' body down from the cross immediately, but the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, was doubtful.
And Pilate marveled if he were already dead.
Pilate was reassured by the centurion that Jesus was dead. But this was the same centurion who had earlier said,
"Truly, this man was the Son of God."
Jesus' body was then laid in a tomb donated by a rich man, Joseph of Arimathea. This Joseph and a man called Nicodemus came to minister to the body.
They came to Jesus by night and brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 100 pounds weight.
These accounts, when viewed as an historical rather than a sacred record, may raise many questions. Why did Jesus die so quickly? Why did Joseph and Nicodemus take so many herbs into the tomb? But no one really doubts that Jesus was crucified. Even in Jerusalem, where the crucifixion happened, and where one is forced to remember that we do not live on a Christian planet, one is also reminded that Christians, Jews and Muslims all accept that Jesus was a man who lived and died in 1st century Palestine. What really separates the Christians from everyone else is their belief in the gospel story that Jesus rose from the dead. This is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, built upon what was supposed to be the tomb in which Jesus was laid after the crucifixion. This, according to devout Christians, is the exact site of the resurrection. And if anything can be described as the cornerstone of the Christian faith, it is the resurrection of Jesus.
If you take away the resurrection, what you're saying is that Jesus was a Messiah who said some really interesting things, and some things that we might all want to copy, and then he died. And so, therefore, he has no greater significance than that.